Ladies and gents, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be jumping into the price action of Bitcoin and what is going on. In the shorter time frames, Bitcoin has been pretty volatile. We'll be getting into just that. And if we look at the liquidation heat map also, we can see that a lot of liquidations have been triggered on both the upside and actually on the bottom hand. We've not been seeing the liquidations get triggered yet. However, the price may push the liquidations to that level so that the market can grab some money. But all of this we will get into in today's video. As always, we have some very exciting news to discuss, on-chain data, and much, much more. Most importantly, Ethereum hit $3,000 today, which is incredibly exciting. And as you guys remember, in previous videos, we've been doing TA on Ethereum, and I've been personally predicting that Ethereum, after rebounding from this prior resistance line of the ascending channel, and after going if we passed $2,600, we could head towards the 3.1K resistance, which is where we are going towards at this current moment in time. I'll be discussing the reasons why Ethereum is seeing such an explosive move and much, much more. But ladies and gents, if you do smash up the like button, that would be very much appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't already to join the crypto kids, and turn on the notification bell to not miss out on any future updates whenever Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any other incredibly interesting altcoin is seeing a crazy move, breaking market updates, and much more. But let's jump in straight into the price action for Bitcoin. I hope all of you had a beautiful weekend, by the way. One thing that I did was watch the We Are the World documentary on Netflix. It's something I would definitely recommend watching. Super crazy how so many stars across the world came together to make one beautiful song. But anyways, going into the price of Bitcoin, in the last update, you would remember that I mentioned Bitcoin was having a top on the TD sequential. Now, a quick recap on what the TD sequential is. It's basically when the market either highlights a top or bottom in momentum. It's happening after a 9-candle push towards the upside or a 9-candle push towards the downside. In this particular situation, Bitcoin was pushing higher. Of course, there are some parameters. This was a red candle, but it still played with the time to mark indicator. And we had an MRI top or a TD top just a few candles back. And usually this indicates a 1 to 4 candle correction. Now, in this situation, Bitcoin has not been correcting, we've actually been consolidating instead. Today's candle is super important because why? For this, we need to jump into lower time frames, and just to highlight, this bearish divergence is still in play, which is why I'm being very cautious at this moment in time. So Bitcoin tricked everyone by going towards the $53,000 level once again. We liquidated so many positions. So just to check back on the liquidation scanner, we can see that approximately $962 million have been liquidated. Most of this is probably compiled from short positions. So what I can see right now on the liquidation heat map is that there's a lot of money flowing in to Bitcoin. We can also tell this from the amount of open interest, which we'll get into. Now, usually this would be a bearish indicator. However, because volume is picking up for Bitcoin, we can see that this is actually bullish, because if open interest rises, but the volume is decreasing, that tends to lead to a top. However, because volume has started to pick up, this is a good indicator because volume predicts price. And by the way, I have some pretty good news for you. I'm now becoming a CMT, hopefully soon in the upcoming 1 to 2 years. I'm working through the courses, and when I completed, I would be technically the youngest person to get a CMT. If you know, you know. But as I was saying, Bitcoin is now forming this pattern here. It's tried to form a double top, but because of this recent pump and then fall back towards the downside, we were not able to complete this double top. Rather, we've now formed this bullish pennant. But it's all going to depend on a couple of factors. If Bitcoin manages to surpass 52.9, I do expect Bitcoin going higher. However, if we break down from this support line, the next level where Bitcoin could potentially see a bounce from, of course, nothing in this video is financial advice, but based off of my TA, I think 49.1 would be an awesome level for a small rebound back, and potentially we could be forming a head and shoulders pattern at that moment in time. But of course, it's still too early to tell. This is the support level, which will indicate either a further correction or another bounce. Now, this rising wedge has been holding now its support, right? But the prior resistance of this rising wedge has been holding up very, very nicely. Bitcoin saw a retest over here, but what I would be expecting is a further pump up, break below 54.1K on the daily time frame, and head towards the $57,000 level. So if Bitcoin manages to do this, right, we see a successful test, and then we break above 54.1, we could potentially rise to the $57,000 area. That's what I'm looking out for. But we need to be cautious here because of a bearish divergence. If the bearish divergence decides to play out right now, then this move will be invalidated on the daily time frame. We could come back to 47K. But if Bitcoin decides to break above 54.1 with a successful retest right now, then we could be heading to 57K. What am I doing in terms of my trades? That's a very good question. What I am doing is I did open a long position. I opened it here on the channel a couple of weeks back with an entry price of 43.19K. This is the $10,000 trading challenge we have over on Bitflex. If you are looking for a place to be trading Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, they just listed a couple of more altcoins. You can head over to the description below and check out this link to sign up and get up to $68,000 in rewards by using the Flex shop. If you want to learn how you can claim those, then you can watch the second link under the description to learn how to trade Bitcoin cryptos on an exchange and how to use the rewards hub system. But I'm still in this long position. It was a 2x long. I do think I could have added more leverage to this, but hey, it is what it is. And more importantly, we bought Ethereum at 2.2 and 2.1K again a couple of weeks back. We mentioned here on the CryptoKid channel that Ethereum will most likely see a major pump towards the upside because the ETF hype is going pretty good. And this was the analysis which we drew. And very quickly, Bitcoin is seeing a rejection from this huge now resistance line that has been drawn up since 2015. Something to be on the lookout for. Discussed that in more detail on the previous update. But this was what we drew for Ethereum. If Ethereum were to break 2.6K, then we could be heading higher. This is the same analysis have not touched anything. But Ethereum is pumping because of two things. In March, we're going to be seeing the Denkun upgrade that should reduce the fees for the Ethereum network. And on top of that, we will be seeing hopefully an Ethereum spot ETF by the 23rd of May. But I honestly think this is not going to happen. I mentioned that the hype will be there no matter if we will see the approval or not. We're currently seeing positive hype, which is good. That's pushing up the price. But I personally do not think that the ETFs will unfortunately be going through because it took so many years for Bitcoin to get approved. It took I think 7 years, the entire process for Bitcoin to get that ETF. And it was a struggle. I mean, Bitcoin is, if you compare it with Ethereum, it is so much more clearer that Bitcoin is a commodity and Ethereum would potentially be a security because Ethereum is much more centralized. You have a CEO and, they promote staking on their own blockchain, which is a no-go for the Howey test. Therefore, I think it will be super difficult for Ethereum to get its ETFs approved this May. And of course, they don't even have a DCM listing. They don't have a listing on a futures market that could give the SEC some more, validity that Ethereum is ready for such ETF. But because this is not there, I think it's still too early. And that's why we may see a correction from the 3.1K level as the ETF will probably not come around. Now, going over into let's go over into some on-chain data, and then we'll finish off with the breaking news updates. Now, this is a very interesting comparison. So if I go to the very top here, what we can see is actually, the short-term Bitcoin holders are in $640 million above plus profit, so more than $640 million, reaching levels seen at the top of the previous bull market. So last time the holders were in such profits was in the top of the previous bull in 2021. And the question is, will they be taking profit right now, leading to selling pressure? And to answer this question, we can look into some on-chain analysis. Now, the first thing is both short-term and long-term holders are in profits. Number two, we can see that the long-term holders are starting to dip here, starting to take some profits, while short-term holders are on the rise. Now, if you read my newsletter or watched the video last week, then you would know that I mentioned as soon as this orange line here starts to dip, we could be seeing a new all-time high being reached very shortly after. And after reaching this all-time high, we will see another bear market. Because if you go into the previous cycles, whenever short-term holders begin to increase, the price of Bitcoin starts topping out. And at that point, the long-term holders are the lowest. And then eventually this starts picking back up and Bitcoin enters into a new bear market, entering another accumulation phase. But I've discussed this in much more detail. I've written an entire research report including this data, so I would definitely recommend going back to my last update. I will put a card on the top right hand section so you do not miss it. But the gist of it is short-term holders are increasing, long-term holders are decreasing. This tends to signal a new all-time high very soon, and then shortly after a top. But this doesn't say that right now is the top. It's just indicating that in the next coming months, Bitcoin may eventually reach its top and then start falling shortly after. My personal prediction for this current cycle sits between $90,000 to $95,000 based off of logarithmic regression, and that's the biggest factor actually. And once we incorporate cycle analysis, when you put in the halving, that's kind of the area that I personally got to. So going over into the breaking news updates, that was just one of them. So we can skip that in the once we get to it. But Coinbase has picked up in retail volume. So this is incredible because it's showcasing that the volume is picking up. People are becoming more interested. Now, the major reason for that is because right now, Bitcoin broke above $50,000. And as soon as Bitcoin broke above 50K, all of the mainstream media outlets, everywhere that you see, people were informed. Like when I go to school now, my friends are saying, wow, Bitcoin broke $50,000. Congratulations. Because mainstream media started talking about it. But when the real retail volume will come back, in my personal opinion, is going to be when Bitcoin reaches like $66,000 and then eventually breaks above the previous all-time high. Then people are going to be like, oh, hold on a second, what's going on here? And at that point, long-term holders are going to be super profitable because in the previous video, we mentioned that 13% of total Bitcoin holders are in the long-term category, and they are in losses because they bought the top in the last bull cycle. And when we come towards the 69K areas, then people are going to get hyped up again, and they're going to be checking their accounts, and they're in profits once more, and they'll probably start selling a little bit after we surpass the all-time high. The retail volume will come back in, and that should hopefully take us to $90,000. That's kind of my train of thought here. But once that happens, we need to remember, we need to learn from previous mistakes. And once retail volume does start kicking back in, that's potentially going to signal me to take some profits off of the table. Now, going into the next news, we've seen BlackRock release a new advertisement for their spot Bitcoin ETF. It is not bad at all, but it could be, in my personal opinion, better from a marketing standpoint. The Bitcoin network is approaching $1 billion in confirmed transactions. That is incredibly bullish for the network itself. And looking at Bitcoin ETF outflows and inflows, etc., we're seeing the ETFs hit incredible numbers. We have so much buying pressure in the market. We have a lot of demand, and supply is diminishing. Last week, we had a record of $2.5 billion, or in fact, $2.2 billion worth in Bitcoin accumulated by ETF issuers in the market. And the only new issued Bitcoin through miner rewards was around $230 million. That's almost a 10x in terms of the supply released and the demand that is being bought up by the ETFs on a daily basis. So it's incredible. When will we be seeing outflows? I personally don't think so. Very soon. This is what the tweet here summarizes. Right now, because it's a new asset class, it's a new ETF, it will most likely continue to start volume coming in. Again, this was a topic we discussed more in the previous video, but as soon as Roth IRAs, 401ks, etc., start holding Bitcoin in their portfolio, then the ETFs will just keep on increasing in inflows, and that is pretty unlikely to stop. So that is my take on it, and things are looking very interesting. We mentioned the total open interest. It's hit $22.9 billion, the highest since November 2021, which was, of course, the bull market top. And this, goes on to talk about how GLD, so SPDR, when it had the gold spot ETF, it was very costly. So in 2018, they launched a sub ETF called GLDM, which reduced the total fees and encouraged more investors to invest into gold at a lower cost. And Nate Garassi here says that maybe Grayscale should be launching this sub ETF where it's cheaper for investors to get in, and the outflows from Grayscale could be going into this new ETF launched. I think it is a very good idea. This was incredible. So what was launched in South Africa, I believe, is that you can now transact Bitcoin via your carrier service without the requirement of actual internet connection. And this is revolutionary. This is a 1-2 hour video in itself. And we will discuss this together, me, Davinci, and Carl, and Mr. M this weekend. So we're holding an event. I will put the link for the event right in the description below. If you're in Dubai, I would definitely recommend joining. It's completely for free, I believe, the tickets. So do check it out. We will have this conversation between me, Davinci, Carl, and Mr. M. And look, we can see here that the world is reaching a record in total debt. We're sitting at $210 or $220 trillion across the world. And as Bitcoin has become a commodity and a hedge against inflation, Bitcoin should hypothetically continue rising once compared to the USD value. And this was James Safeart saying that the Ethereum spot ETFs will probably not come around by the end of March. And this is an interesting take based off of the Apple Vision Pro. So 30% of people will get headaches using the Apple Vision Pro because there is a small latency difference between what you see with the VR or AR goggles, etc., whatever you want to call it, and your real vision. So this small latency difference will cause headaches, and it may not be suitable for 30% of the people across the world. We talked about this just now, and I can remove that from my bookmarks. This was really mind-blowing. So WorldCoin reached or surpassed 1 million daily users this week. I still do not understand why people use WorldCoin. Card to the video that I made last summer talking about how stupid it is and why NPCs would only be using WorldCoin. But yeah, that pretty much covers everything I want to talk about in this video. Most importantly, just wanted to bring this up again from the previous one because all exchange traded products across the world, remember, there's not only ETFs in the United States, there's ETFs everywhere. This has reached a staggering number of almost 1 million Bitcoin, 1/19 of the entire supply. And this just adds to the potential supply shock that we'll be seeing very, very soon. And Bitcoin is, ladies and gentlemen, only 23% away from its all-time high. Can't wrap my mind around it, how we're so close to the prior top. It's really crazy. But guys and girls, thank you so much for watching today's video. God, that was a good run, but my throat dried up. Ladies and gents, have a beautiful day and hope to see you on the next video very soon. Remember, smash up the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell to not miss out on any future updates. But this is CryptoKid signing off, and yeah, I'll see you on the next video shortly. Bye-bye.